on the concept of stress, because I watched your talk where you were talking about that experiment that you did and the difference between anxiety and stress. And I thought that's a very good question, because I think a lot of the times the two can be interchanged and people might associate them in the same way. So in your opinion, how would you describe the difference between anxiety and stress?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And through Humor, we try and help people become educated on both of these topics, which quite often are intertwined and entangled in that way. I think the way that I like to describe it is that stress is something which is more situationally dependent. Stress is also, well, both stress and anxiety are very natural. They're super common. We all feel them at some point in our lives. But stress tends to be more commonly triggered through changes to our surroundings. It's our body's way, our brain's way of activating the body's level of physical arousal to confront a challenge that is presented to them. And if we take the example in evolutionary terms, we're in the jungle and we see a patch of grass next to us that's rustling. Out from there, we might see a snake jump out of us, and that poses a threat to our own survival. So the stress level can mount to prepare us to face that challenge. But that isn't necessarily the same feeling that we might get from anxiety, which it can be prompted by changes to our environment, but it's something that's more subtle, something that's more internal, and is similar to have you ever forgotten your keys when you try to get back in home and you freak out for that one instant where you're like, oh shoot, where are my keys? And you're patting along your pockets trying to find them. That feeling sustained over a period of time, which is something more baseline, is more similar to the experience of anxiety. Different constructs, which within the field of psychology we measure differently using different methods, but both of them do have these underlining similarities and parallels, such as feelings of panic, such as feeling overwhelmed. So they are both times often confounded and entangled with one another.
Yeah. So the difference between stress and anxiety is stress, from what you're saying, sounds to be very situational. It's very dependent. For example, I have a lot of work. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I've got deadlines. I went to a place maybe that I'm not familiar with. I can feel uncomfortable. But anxiety is more. Would you say anxiety can happen? It's kind of like you start worrying sometimes before something has even happened. Like I could be anxious about a future event.
Yeah, absolutely. I think these challenges are different from person to person. So what is one person's experience of anxiety will be completely different to the other. So I don't want to give an overriding definition that is going to tick everyone's boxes. The difference with the two is yes, stress is something which is a lot more situationally dependent. It's about the confrontation of challenges, whereas anxiety can be completely separate from the need to confront challenges. For example, anxiety can be something which stays with us, which we feel as if is difficult to shake at times, even if there is no stressful situation facing us. I know there are times before where I've been anxious. I haven't really been able to explain where that anxiety is coming from, but you know that you do have this feeling of underlying panic. And I think if you are feeling like you are overwhelmed and you can't tell whether you're stressed or you're anxious, a good starting place is to think, what is prompting this? If it can be easily explained and you can identify what a cause might be, I'm not saying that it's stress, but chances are that it may be likely to be so. If it's something that is more constant and perpetual, and you feel as if it is difficult to explain, and you have felt it perhaps for a while, then again, not saying it's anxiety, but chances are it might be feelings of anxiousness.
Yeah, no, 100%. I totally understand what you mean. And